Hey, it's Chris Peters again. We're going to talk about creating a SharePoint list from an existing SharePoint list. And in order to do that, we're going to walk through a list that we already have that has some metadata columns in it. They're custom. And we basically want to create a second list that's identical to the first list, but with no content in it. This will be probably 2 or 3 minute video for you. So we're starting at our SharePoint User Insights homepage, and we're going to get over to our site contents. And in our site contents, we've got some lists in here. A SharePoint list that I have one item in, but you also see a second one here called SharePoint List 2 with 0 in it. I just did a creation of a list to test before the video, so we're going to do one right now live. And the way we're going to do it is from the site contents, we're going to go ahead and we're going to click New, and we're going to ask for a new list. But notice when I ask for a new list here, I can make a blank one that has nothing pre-configured in it, just the internal columns. Or I can pick from an existing list. That's the one we're going to use. As long as we're here, just so you know, you can also create a SharePoint list from an Excel spreadsheet or from a CSV type of a comma delimited file that can be used in Excel too. So let's go with from existing lists. First thing it does is it tells me what sites I have here. Our main site does have a SharePoint list in it that has that one item I showed you, so it's picking that automatically. However, if I had made some extra changes to my copy here to add a few more columns, and I wanted to get all 4 of the columns in, let's just say I had 4, into a brand new list, I could pick this one just by selecting on it. For now, we're going to go with our SharePoint list, and we're going to say Next. All it wants here is a name and then an optional description and whether or not you want to show this list in your site navigation, which would, our site would be up here. So let's just call this SharePoint Task List 3. And we'll make it number 3. That's about it. Again, description's optional. And I don't want to show it on the navigation. We'll look at it through the site contents. So we'll uncheck this and we'll create it. It's going to happen pretty fast. And when it's done, it's going to display that new list for you. Notice SharePoint Task List number 3 has been created. It has its default title in it, but it also has 3 custom columns we call metadata columns because this is a task tracking. So we want to give the user a way to indicate the status of a task, what its title is, the owner, and the task notes. If we go back into the source list that we started from, you'll notice in here, I have one example. So in this example, and I also changed the title to the word task, so it's easier for people to know that this is the column for task. I'll show you how to do that. But if I wanted to make changes here or add a new task, I'm going to get a form that looks kind of like this. And it's going to let me specify the task status with a little drop down. So I was able to create these. It's called a choice field. Indicate who the owner of the task is. This is coming from Active Directory, so it's going to give the user the ability to look at contact information for the owner too if they need to get a hold of them. And then we'll go down one more to the task notes. Now this task notes here is a multi-line task note field that lets you put in formatting and colors. You can font color things. You can put bullets in there. So we'll just open it up for a second. So you've got a lot of area to write in here. If you had links you wanted to put in to other resources related to the task, you could put them in here too. The only kind of note of warning here is if you fill this up a lot, then the task note field here is going to start to get pretty large too. So what you can do, if it's going to be a lot of really large notes and entries and things, you can leave this column out of the display, and then you'll still see it when you go into the form that's related to the item. So you'd still see this task notes here, and notice how it does get big. You've got plenty of room to work around and save. So that's just something to remember. Some people, the task notes are pretty straightforward. You can put them in the column so they just kind of show up, and we're giving this a good horizontal amount of space too. So that's an example of this with content in it. Now let's go back to the one we just created. And that's going to be number 3. So we'll open that up. And as long as we're here, let's change this title to task. So the way we're going to do it is I'm going to go up as an owner into the list settings for this particular list. And I'm simply going to go, we're actually pretty good. So the title there is showing as task. So we'll go back one bit. And we're just going to see if we can make the update right here too. Sometimes it might take a moment or two for it to populate here. So we'll just go to our settings and we'll do rename, and we'll call it task. Get rid of that, and we'll save. Now you'll notice we have a task column, a task status, owner, and notes. Let's add something to the list. So we'll say new, here comes the form. So my task is to do some first round testing. The status I'm going to say is it's underway, means I'm working on it already. I can resolve my name here, or anybody else who's a user on my SharePoint site. And I can put my notes in here too, just like we showed you before. Save, and then I'll save this entry here. Now I have my first task in task list number 3. Do first round testing, status, owner. A nice thing about SharePoint is the type of column we use for task owner is called a people column. So if I hover over my name here for a bit, a little panel is going to open up, and it's going to show me, or show the contact information for me. So phone numbers, email addresses, things like that, which can be handy when you've got users that might have a question about the task that Chris is working on. They can get this information displayed to them nice and quickly. And that's it. So we'll do a quick recap. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go to the gear. Wait for that to come up. I'm looking in site contents. Again, here is the task list we just created with the columns from the SharePoint list base list we have. And then we did that little change of title for where it said title, we changed it to task, and then we added something to it. You can see it's got one item in it now. And again, to create another list in your site, I go to new from my site contents where I'm at now. Select list, tell it whether I want a blank. I already have a list I'd like to mimic, or in cases where you've got a spreadsheet or a CSV file you want to populate into a list, those options are here too. In the from existing list means I have a list that I have access to on my site, or maybe it's a list I have access to on another site. If I have access to the list on another site, this will still work. So again, here's the name of the site we are in. Here are the 3 lists to choose from. Let's say I want to make a copy of 3. I would go next, and then to finish it, give it a title, maybe a description, and then decide whether or not you want to show it in the navigation. So pretty straightforward, saves a lot of time, especially when you've got a list that might have 10 or 15 columns in it with all sorts of other information, just like on a spreadsheet, that you might be tracking about a particular task effort that your team is working on. That's it. So let's go back home. And thanks again.